Prime Minister Modi's trip to Lakshadweep has ended up in a full-blown diplomatic spat between India and the Maldives. This after derogatory remarks were made about the Prime Minister by several officials in the Maldives government. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Our focus continues to be on what's going on, what's the story behind the boycott Maldives trend that has been the top trend in India for the last 48 hours. The story begins with these images of a trip by Prime Minister Modi to the stunning Lakshadweep Islands. The Prime Minister made no mention of Maldives, and for reasons that Indians cannot understand, at least three officials, including two ministers in the Maldives government, made extremely personal, rude, derogatory remarks about both India and the Indian Prime Minister. Subsequently, there was a huge backlash, a ferocious backlash in India and on social media. It's led to cancelled bookings on online travel sites. It's also led to the biggest names of India's film industry in Bollywood wading into these choppy waters, underlining the need to explore Indian tourist destinations instead of Maldives, which has hitherto been a favorite destination for many of these film stars. The Maldives government issued a statement disassociating itself from the language used by these officials and these ministers. They were, in fact, suspended, but the Maldives envoy has been summoned by the foreign ministry today, this even as the Maldives president is on a tour to China. Opposition voices in the Maldives have been urging their government, to pay heed to the relationship with India and to not jeopardize it. Let's bring up on the program today, joining us from the Maldives today is Ahmed Adeeb. He's the former vice president of the Maldives. We're also joined on the program by Ambassador Dilip Sinha, who's, of course, a senior veteran diplomat. Thank you, both of you gentlemen, for joining us. Mr. Adeeb, I thank you for your time today. I want to start by asking you, as someone who has been the vice president of your country, did you ever imagine to see this sort of tension with a friendly country like India that has always come to the help of the Maldivian people when needed? What do you make of the current situation, Mr. Adeeb?
Yeah, I believe it's very uncalled for, and something should not have happened. But as you seen the during the elections, it was a anti-India movement created by the former President Yamin, and it was used for politics to attack the incumbent government at that time. President Soli was having very good relationship with India, and then it was India who helped us during the COVID times. And as well as after COVID, the number of tourists has increased. India has become the major market for Maldives. So I thought after the elections, when they're in power, they should be more responsible. They are not political activists anymore. They're in the deputy minister positions. So they just made these comments, which is unacceptable towards the Indians and as well as the Prime Minister Modi. And there was no reason to do that, and it's unacceptable. And Maldives government should have taken action more promptly, rather than and also follow up by apology, as well as President Muizzu should have reached President Modi personally and try to sort it out, because it has blown out to be a full diplomatic crisis.
So you are saying, Mr. Adeeb, that the president himself should actually reach out to the prime minister and the apology should be at the highest level of government. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I believe.
And do you believe that this anti-India sentiment has the fingerprints of China on it? How do you explain it or understand it?
So it was started by President Yamin during 2016. If we go back like 2012, when I was also minister, when President
Yes.
Yamin came 2013, it was him who signed up for the next helicopter as well as the defense agreements. So it was going right. But when President Yamin started arresting politicians, including myself and other politicians, India made a stand against to respect the human rights, called up President Yamin and all. After that, only he started this sentiments against India. And then after he lost power, he made a big campaign to attack that incumbent government. So there's nothing reasonable about it. It's a political agenda which should have finished after them coming to the power, because when you're in power, you should be more responsible. So it's a norm that the any incumbent president who is coming in will visit India. It has been followed up by the past four presidents, but this
Yes.
time it was different. So likewise, President Muiz has visited
China.
Turkey,
Yeah.
and then now he's in China. So it is yet to be seen what are the agreements, what are the negotiations and decisions they will be taking in China.
Yeah. So let me bring in Ambassador Dilip Sinha at this point. If we can bring Ambassador Sinha on the screen, there he is. We have the former Vice President of the Maldives calling this a full-blown diplomatic crisis. He's, of course, in the opposition today. He's talking about anti-India sentiment actually having been a big part of the election. How do we see it here in the sense that as a diplomat, how should India be responding, sir?
Well, I think it's very reassuring that leaders like Mr. Adeeb and his colleagues have taken a very firm stand criticizing their own government for this kind of behavior, which is the correct thing to do. Now, that's very reassuring for us that it's not that the sentiment is widespread across the people of Maldives. It is confined to one particular leadership that has just come into power, which is behaving in a very irresponsible and a rather uncivilized manner, if I may say so. Now, India becoming an election issue in a neighboring country is nothing new. We are used to that. Almost all our neighboring countries use us as a what do you call it, a boxing ring, something that
Punching bag,
mitigates.
a punching bag.
Punching bag. I was missing that word, the punching bag.
Yes.
That's quite common. Now, what is the new development that's taking place is China coming in as a major player in this and exploiting it, which is very dangerous because relations between India and China are not good right now, and relations with not only China but a lot of China's neighbors is not good. And there's a strong sentiment among a lot of the neighbors of China against China's new aggressive policies, both in South China Sea as well as in the Indian Ocean. We've seen that with a number of countries. And that's one of the reasons why even Secretary of State Blinken stepped into this whole thing and spoke to the foreign minister of Maldives. Now, we know what he would have spoken about. Yeah. If Maldives becomes a place where Chinese ships start coming in and going out, it not only impact our security, it will impact the security of the whole region. And we must also remember that America itself has a major base just south of the Maldives in Diego Garcia. So
Yes.
all these factors have to be weighed very carefully by any leadership in the Maldives before it wades into this geopolitical conflict that is taking place of the East-West, the new Cold War that has started, where you have the Quad on one side and you have China on the other, along with Russia. There are very serious geopolitical implications of all this. So quite apart from this little dispute that we have, whether Lakshadweep is prettier than Maldives or Maldives is prettier than Lakshadweep, they're sister islands. They are part of the same geological formation. And we must compliment Maldives for having developed its tourism industry so well, to have put it on the global map. And I hope we can do it also for the Lakshadweep, not as in competition to Maldives, but as in a complement to that. It's good that the whole region develops. Maldives has done very well to have increased the per capita income of the country to the highest in South Asia. These are things to be appreciated. But when Maldives starts dabbling in geopolitics, then that's where things can get very difficult for it. And then it will get caught in this crossfire, which will be harmful, certainly for the Maldives.
So, Mr. Adeeb, let me ask you, do you see China's fingerprints over this? You heard the ambassador talk about how India's security concerns would be impacted if, for example, Chinese ships, if not a full-blown base, were allowed to pass through. China has been pushing for a trilateral cooperation. That's not going to happen, especially given the state of India-China relations. Do you see China's hand in the present government's position?
So it is been now 60 days into the government, and it is yet to be seen. So this is the first state visit even to the China by the President Muizzu. So the actions they make, the agreements they make, we yet to be seen. But I would say this started as a campaign thing, which was done by the activists who has become the ministers. So my belief is that it was, if we take a little bit of history. Like last 10 years, for example, if Maldives needs budget support, which we require furthermore in the coming years, So it was always been India which has given budget supports. Other countries might give you a project which comes with a loan, it can be a development project, but giving budget support and things like currency swap, which is needed to manage the financials, it was been always India, if we take history. So what he does now, the President Muizzu and the current government in China, I think that will reflect what is going to happen in the next few days. We will know. I really hope that we as a country, as the ambassador said, we cannot afford to get caught up in this geopolitical situation. During my tenure as a Minister of Tourism, we had a very good relationship with India and all the countries as well. And we developed Maldives as a luxury tourism destination with a lot of help from Bollywood and India, as well as
Yeah.
a lot of influencers. So I believe we should continue doing that, and we should not get
Can I
caught
can
up.
I ask can I ask you, Mr. Adeeb, since you've been tourism minister, when you see the biggest names of Bollywood that you said helped put Maldives on the global tourist map, today Amitabh Bachchan to Kangana Ranaut to Akshay Kumar, who was just in Maldives a few days ago, are angry and are speaking up as Indians. Does this concern you? Does this concern you?
Yes, it really concerns me because as a Minister of Tourism, I work very closely with them as well. So I know how powerful they are, how it will impact our tourism industry, which is very fragile as well. So we should be more responsible and try to sort out this situation rather than letting it blow up and also this escalation has to be sorted out. So for that, I think President Muiz himself has to reach out to the Prime Minister Modi.
Ambassador Sinha, if the president doesn't reach out, the government of Maldives did issue a statement. It did announce suspensions, but there's been no personal outreach. The former VP says there has to be that and an apology. Mr. Adeeb, who should the apology come from, according to you?
I think on behalf of the government of Maldives, President has to issue it to the Prime Minister of India, as well as personally reach Prime Minister of India and try to sort it out this problem because it might be very harsh for Maldives because as you see the social media is there is a lot of anti-sentiments at the moment. We should try to sort it out rather than let it escalate. Diplomatic
So,
crisis as well as social media crisis.
so Ambassador Sinha, how does it de-escalate?
Well, I think if the president were to call our prime minister, that would be extremely good gesture, and that would be very nice. I think that would really settle this issue completely. But even if he doesn't do that, because I think it will be very difficult for him to call up and apologize, it requires a great deal of magnanimity of character to do a thing like that. But even if we were to take the action of at least dismissing these ministers who have behaved in a manner that does not behove a minister of any country, that action should, from our point of view, be sufficient. I don't think we should push this matter too far because the fact remains that we are a very large country as compared to the Maldives, and any kind of toughness by us will be seen by the world as India bullying a small neighbor, which does not behove us. So we should ensure that the bottom line for us is our security. On that, there should be no compromise. But on these minor issues, like one comment coming in that Lakshadweep doesn't have rooms that smell, I think those can be ignored and we can move on. But certainly on the issue of security, there should be no compromise.
But the problem is that some of these comments about the prime minister in very pejorative language came from officials, not from trolls. And do you think we should at least insist that the suspension is a permanent removal?
Yes, I think that is something that we should insist upon, that these ministers do not deserve to be there. They should be removed from there. Because if these are officials, if they continue, then we will have to see this as the national policy of that country and then respond accordingly.
Right. Mr. Adeeb, there has also been an issue that the present government has made about the presence of military personnel of India in Maldives, which, as Ambassador Sinha was pointing out to me earlier, is only 75 in number. What is the issue that this government is trying to create in relation to the presence of Indian military?
Yeah, so this was something mentioned by President Yamin, but as I mentioned earlier, it was himself who signed two of those agreements. So when you're trying to play politics and mix it with international relations, this kind of unreasonable things, like suddenly they're saying that their military presence, which was brought in by himself, but just to blame the government at that time, because they were having a very good relationship with India, and India was helping Maldives. For political reasons, they brought in this issue, and then and then after that, Muizzu has inherited that with this party hardliners still inside the party, who has joined some of the key positions. So it's nothing. It doesn't represent the sentiments of Maldivian people. It doesn't represent the majority. So it's just few people there, and they use it for politics. And I never thought that it will continue when they are in power. They should be more responsible, I would say.
Well, in the end, before I give Ambassador Sinha the last word, what would you, Mr. Adeeb, want the people of India to know? People of India who are only following this from social media, do not know much beyond this. What would you want them to know?
I want people of India to know that the people of Maldives, I mean, they love India, Indian culture, Indian food, Bollywood. You know, we grew up watching it. We all know Hindi. We understand it very well.
हिंदी आता है आपको?
Yeah, हमको आता है. Yeah, so it doesn't represent the sentiments of Maldivians, but it's few people, few politicians who used it for politics. So I believe that we should, as Ambassador said, we should overcome this and then work together as well. And then India is blessed with Lakshadweep and Andaman Islands, which can complement each other if they create tourism there. Because as Minister of Tourism, I know if the region develops, our country also develops. Then there's a lot of economies of scale and a lot of competition, which will benefit us as well.
Absolutely. Ambassador Sinha, last word to you, sir.
Well, I totally agree with Mr. Adeeb. It is any improvement in the infrastructure, in tourism, in the region, whether in Lakshadweep or in Andamans or in Kerala or any other place, benefits the whole region, and the whole region gets an image of a place that tourists should come to. Everybody will benefit from this, and this is what we should concentrate on. We are a very poor region of the world. We have to concentrate on our economic development rather than worry about all kinds of geopolitical issues around the place, around the world. That should be our aim over here, and we have to cooperate live with each other in peace and harmony. And we should get over this little thing that has happened. Put it behind us. But as I said, security interests have to be respected, and that is something on which there can be no compromise. And India's neighbors must also keep that in mind when they formulate their policies.
That's right. And China is, to that extent, the elephant in the room. But I think, as we can agree, these are all beautiful parts of our part of the world. And as Mr. Adeeb said, they can complement each other. But it will be important to see what the next public articulation is from the Maldives government. Thank you very much, Mr. Adeeb, former Vice President of Maldives, and Ambassador Dilip Sinha, diplomatic veteran, for speaking to us. Take care and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mojo Story has always made a commitment to its viewers to go to where the story is. And as you can see here, we are at the epicenter of the Israel war on Gaza. We are right at the front line, about 1 mile from the Gaza Strip, as the Israeli military gets ready with its tanks and its gunners to begin its final frontal assault that will take troops into Gaza. As we said, we are not like other organizations. We believe in giving you all sides of the story objectively and as much as possible from the ground. And that's exactly what we're doing here, covering the biggest global story today from the epicenter of the war zone. So please, we need your support. Support us, become a Mojo member, subscribe to us, spread the word, and thank you for your support.